What's up, guys? I wanted to make a video about a logical approach to spirituality to help get you clean. I think a lot of people could be turned off by spirituality. People with more logical type minds, people more geared towards the maths and sciences and all that stuff, but I think there is a logical approach you can take to finding a higher power to help you defeat your addiction. That is one thing I agree with AA about, is that you need to find something larger than yourself, because yourself has not been strong enough to defeat your addiction at this point. So, how I think about spirituality is, you know, in church where they light, in like Catholic churches and at Buddhist temples, they light incense. Smell is one of the strongest things, I think it is the strongest thing tied to memory. Stronger than sight or sound. I think sound is second, because songs sometimes bring us back to certain states of mind. So, burning incense is a way to bring your mind purposely into a state. So, like, Buddhists will have a great meditation, then they'll light an incense. So every time they light that incense again, they'll be able to return to that state of mind. Also, there's something hypothesized called the collective unconscious. Carl Jung came up with this, the idea that how would all these mythologies all over the world have similar stories, but they were separated by continents and never talked to each other? And he thought that this meant that there is archetypes in our subconscious, like gods and demons and all of these things. And when you do ayahuasca, you definitely get a first-hand experience about what these things are. And I think they're a part of us. And I think demons aren't scary little monsters outside of us. They're thought forms and they're habits that we have inside of our minds. Addiction is definitely a demon, in my opinion. It's a scary monster, but it's you when you're in that state of mind. So, addiction needs to be replaced with something else. All that energy and all that thought and all that time and all that anxiety that goes into your addiction needs to be replaced with something. And back when they were writing the book, the book they use in AA, they call it the Big Book, I think. The guys that were on the team trying to figure out, so how do we treat addiction? Because they were having a big problem with, like, alcoholics in the 50s. Like, big, businessmen would do well in business, but they'd be drunks. They'd be, like, severe alcoholics. Or, like, how do we get these guys off alcohol? And everyone knows alcohol is one of the hardest things to get off. So they got a team together of some of the best minds about this subject, and they came up with 12 steps that worked the most to get people off. 12 steps that they found at that time with those people with that addiction to alcohol to get them off. And one of them was finding a higher power. And to use that to beat your addiction, what you have to do is realize that people that are very religious or very spiritual, I believe that's just a part of themselves, in them, that they find in themselves. It's your higher self. And nature also has an intelligence and a consciousness to it. So that can be thought of as God. There's many things that you can think of as a higher power that don't have to be a bearded dude in the sky, There's many other ways to think about spirituality that's definitely more logical. So, different techniques people use is, say, like meditation. When you're meditating, what you're doing is you're concentrating your mind. And I don't meditate on a single thought. I just try to like clear my mind from my usual thoughts, and I realize a new system of thoughts will kick in. When my mind's healthy, when it's running off of its own chemicals especially. And that starts to be a sort of drug, a sort of replacement for heroin for me, is meditation. And I meditate when I'm running, when I'm riding a bike, before I go to sleep. I think there's many ways you can meditate. You don't have to be sitting in, in a lotus position on a mountain in Tibet. You can just chill your mind out. If you got to, like, smoke some weed, do whatever you got to do to get your mind in the right state. There's many other ways you can use spirituality than what is typically taught to you. Like yoga, for example, is a perfect way to get your endorphins back flowing again. And I think it's good for people getting off dope because it's not a lot of like, you can get in a yoga class, you could just start doing stretches from like a video you see online. You could just start, going to a free class or something and just doing basic stretches, and you'll realize after a while you start getting a good feeling from it. You start actually feeling better from it. And there's other things like kind acts for others and compassion. Like that actually gives you a good feeling. And thinking that there's like a higher self or like a spirit in nature watching over you kind of assists you in this process. It makes you feel like there's something more. And even if you're just brainwashing yourself, who cares? Everything is a brainwash. Everything that you believe, you can't, there's a lot of things we believe that you couldn't necessarily prove. So everything could be thought of a way as like positively brainwashing yourself if you want to think that way. I don't know. Just think about it, guys.